2 days away from new COVID restrictions in Minnesota. Restaurants and bars pleading for your support now. How soon Minnesotans and North Dakotans can expect to see a COVID vaccine, plus an irreplaceable loss. What a woman says was stolen along with her car that she can never get back. Valley News Live at 10 starts right now.
Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 10.
For those of you that are worried financially, I hear you. I hear you. This is incredibly painful.
Minnesota businesses are now working in overdrive to prepare for the next 4 weeks. Dine-in services and bars and restaurants is one of the many items shutting down starting this Friday. Governor Tim Walz made the announcement earlier this evening, and now Valley News Team's Katie Opperly hears how employees and business owners calling on the community for support.
I think everyone's a little bit exhausted, not just us or our industry. I think the entire country, the world, we're exhausted.
Bailey and her co-workers at Legends in Moorhead are gearing up for round 2, a shutdown of in-person dining at restaurants and bars after already having to close their doors back in March.
I look at the numbers then, and then I look at the numbers now, and that's the part that probably scares us the most, is we're higher now than we were last spring. And we're going into the winter months.
Hunter owns 2 restaurants in Detroit Lakes. She says winter is already a slower time and may make this closure even more impactful. She says this pause will likely force some of her employees out of their jobs.
It's tugging on me a little bit because we'll lose some amazing staff that can't solely live on unemployment alone.
Governor Walz says the restrictions start this Friday at 11:59 p.m., despite the push from some industry leaders and lawmakers to wait until the end of the weekend. They'll be in place until Friday, December 18th at the earliest. Employees saying they're taking what they learned last time to get through it again.
We have to be shut down. Let's use it as wisely as we can. So let's get those projects done. Let's do what we can to better our staff.
We as a company kind of prepared early, ordered in, a lot of our to-go boxes, anything that we would need to use for to-go orders or takeout.
As the holidays near, Minnesota businesses are calling on our community to remember them, finding safe ways to support them so they can survive.
Be a good neighbor, order takeout more frequently, stock up on gift cards, give them as a random gift to someone.
Governor Walz says he is working on supporting these businesses and employees with a stimulus, saying he is working on a state and national level to provide. Katie Opperly, Valley News Live.
Grocery stores, churches, beauty salons, child care, and schools will remain open. You can see the full list of the closures and restrictions on valleynewslive.com. Just click on this story. And we'll have more on the impact to organized sports later with Beth Houle. Governor Tim Walz says that he believes Minnesotans will begin being vaccinated before the end of this 4-week pause. North Dakota leaders agree. They say a COVID-19 vaccine could reach North Dakota within the next 2 weeks. North Dakota is expecting somewhere between 20 and 50,000 doses. Healthcare workers and those living in long-term care are expected to get the vaccine first. Next, people 65 and up, those considered high risk, people living in congregate settings, and critical workers like teachers and police.
North Dakota does have a plan, but as you can imagine, it changes almost daily based on if we're going to have 1 or 2 vaccines available, the number of doses that could be available, and we still don't yet know officially who will be recommended as the first priority for vaccination.
Howell adds that we won't have enough doses for all North Dakotans until at least April. Also tonight, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum is encouraging enforcement and ticketing regarding his new mask mandate, but attorneys worry not wearing a mask may lead to other consequences. The fine for not wearing a mask is an infraction, which one attorney compares to getting a speeding ticket. It carries no risk of jail time, unless a person receives 3 in the same year. Then it's upgraded to a Class B misdemeanor. However, attorneys are worried that officers will use the mask mandate as probable cause to ask more questions and potentially search suspects.
They might have contact with law enforcement, which might lead to further investigation of other things other than not wearing a mask.
The governor's order doesn't specify what the fine is. Each county can determine a penalty for its residents. Labor union members are on strike at a distribution center in North Fargo for what they call inadequate protection against COVID-19. Members of the Teamsters 120 labor union picketed outside of Cashwa today for hours. A union spokesperson tells us that the company has not been protecting workers from COVID, citing a lack of hand sanitizing stations, social distancing space, and PPE for employees. They say that they learned that after polling their numbers about workplace safety.
We've come to find out that they've been careless and reckless with how they've been handling the COVID. And, we're asking them to come back to the table and do the right thing.
We reached out to the Nebraska-based distribution company. They weren't available for comment. There's a large outbreak of COVID cases at the James River Correctional Center. We're told there are currently 211 cases, when you consider both inmates and staff. Data obtained by Valley News Live in early October showed only 12 positive cases at that time. By November 3rd, 66 cases. Last week, that number jumped to 163. A mother in Fargo is on the search for a stolen item and is turning to social media for help. Valley News Team's Devin Fry shows us how she's trying to find a one-of-a-kind quilt that cannot be replaced.
It's one of those things, I don't want to lose her memories.
A Fargo woman is taking to social media for help, trying to find a truly priceless stolen item. Joni Carey says that her van was stolen from her building's parking lot at the end of May. There were a lot of items inside the van, but the most important to her was a quilt that is impossible to replace. The quilt was made out of the clothes of her daughter, who died at the age of 2 after complications from a heart transplant.
I was devastated. When the blanket was gone, that was my biggest thing. I'm like, her blanket was in there.
The van was found about a month later with all of her items missing, including the quilt. There were stolen plates on the van, and it was full of other people's items.
The kitchen stuff was replaced. It's not a huge deal. It's her blanket. That was the biggest thing.
After months with no leads on where the quilt may be, Carrie has taken to social media, asking anyone to come forward with any information. She said that the quilt is one of the few things that offers her comfort after losing her daughter.
It was one thing that would calm me. Just like someone would have a weighted blanket, that would give them some kind of calmness. Her blanket calmed me. And same with if my son Willie was having a bad day. He's like, Mom, can we just cuddle with Ember?
Reporting from Fargo, Devin Fry, Valley News Live.
And of course, if you see any sign of that quilt or possibly may know where it is, please contact your local authorities. Hubbard County authorities are looking for these men who are suspected in a theft case. Investigators say they burglarized a home near Itasca State Park yesterday. Multiple guns were stolen. If you have any information, call the Sheriff's Department. The phone number is on your screen right now, 218-732-3331. West Fargo Central Fire Station will be closing for a couple of weeks because an employee has tested positive with the coronavirus. This will not impact emergency service response. Those who are identified as close contacts, including the fire chief, office manager, and all of the risk reduction division, they will work from home remotely. Officers say no residents were exposed. West Fargo's Park District is lowering the capacity for the indoor playground at Ruststead Recreation Center to 10 people at a time. And they'd like to remind you that everyone must wear a mask at all West Fargo Park District facilities. President Trump will go ahead with the traditional Thanksgiving turkey pardoning ceremony. That from a White House official who says the annual event is set for this coming Tuesday. According to the National Turkey Foundation, 2 birds will come from a farm in Iowa. They will arrive in Washington, D.C. by train next week. The pardoning is a presidential tradition that dates back at least 73 years. If you're wondering how you can spread some holiday cheer, we've got a great idea for you. We'd like to remind you of what's called our virtual food drive. We're teaming up with the Great Plains Food Bank, and we'd really like some help. Also, if you would get involved. To find out more how you can help local families that are in need, download our free VNL News app, look for the virtual food drive, and click to donate. Later on Valley News Live at 10, good grief, not being able to see the Charlie Brown holiday specials put on by the nation, it apparently has us in an uproar. The solution up next. Up next as well, Hutch has the details on our return to cooler temps.